I'm Jennifer Kim, director of the Peace School. Freshman year of high school, honors English. We got to pick whatever book we wanted to write a book report. I went down in the basement where my parents had floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. I noticed this little skinny book and thought, that's the way to go. I'll make this easy. The book was called Tomorrow. I recently looked it up and saw it was written the year I was born. Amazon puts it in science fiction. Now I remember it as fiction, but very realistic. Actually more realistic than I could handle. Tomorrow describes the after effects of a fictional nuclear bombing here in the Midwest. I remember it being painfully graphic, but thankfully I don't remember any of those details now. The descriptions brought on feelings of horror and dread. It was like the loudest siren there is was blasting over me and blaring out, "Hey humanity, do not ever let this happen, ever." I went around and around as I tried to prepare my book report. Maybe I should talk about this part or that part. Should I read this quote? No, too shocking. Everything I wrote seemed insufficient. My words didn't express the urgency that the book was able to convey to me. When the day came for me to give my book report in front of the class, I went up and said something like, I read the book Tomorrow about the horrible effects of a fictional nuclear attack. It's a very important book. Everybody should read it. And I sat down. There was slightly stunned silence from my teacher and the class. What kind of book report was that? But really, that's all I could say. In my gut, I felt that everyone should read this book, so everyone would know that nuclear war is devastating, unwinnable, heartbreaking, and horrifying. And the bottom line, it must not happen. That summer after my freshman year, I was going through something of a teenage crisis because someone close to me was moving out of state. Before moving, they told me about a movie that was coming on TV, and they were excited for me to see it. Even though we wouldn't be together, we could watch it at the same time. They said it was a hilarious Peter Sellers movie. Peter Sellers, Pink Panther. I could get into that. But it wasn't Pink Panther. It was Dr. Strangelove. Never heard of it. I've since heard it called a black comedy. Here's a clue for those who never saw it. The full title is Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. The final scene was, in a word, final. A devastating mushroom cloud. How anyone could think this was a funny movie was beyond me. For me, it was like being knocked over again, like the way I felt when I read that book. By my early 20s, I'd gotten out of the western suburbs and was settled into a Chicago apartment. No, I hadn't become a peace activist or anti-war demonstrator, and it's not like I thought about nuclear war a lot, but somehow over the years, I developed a fairly negative worldview. I spent too much time thinking about what's wrong with me, what's wrong with them, what's wrong with work, what's wrong with life, and on and on. I wasn't particularly happy. Lucky for me, a friend at work told me about an evening course that sounded interesting. I think it was called Mind and Body Harmony. I took a chance and signed up. It happened to be taught by the late founder of the Peace School. At the very first class I attended, he taught us peace breathing, a simple tool to release stress, and so much more. He told us to breathe deeply, and as we inhale, think world, and as we exhale, think peace. Doesn't seem like that would hurt anything. Why not? He seemed so peaceful himself. I thought, well, I can give that a try. He told us that inner peace and world peace are interconnected, and that thoughts themselves are important because they create energy that we experience and within ourselves and that we share out to others. That intrigued me. So I tried it, a new approach to peace, and I started to feel at peace. That little skinny book I read back in high school planted a seed for me. Or I could say it touched a part of me that longed for peace, for myself, and for others. Those feelings the book brought up made me feel disturbed and depressed, not the kind of energy I wanted to immerse myself in. Here was another idea: to fill my mind with peace, to radiate peace out to the world. Now that's an idea I could get behind. Instead of being knocked over mentally and emotionally by the horrors of war, I was experiencing a calm and steady energy of peace that was tangible to me. I liked the idea of planting seeds of peace with each breath. Step by step, I was feeling better about myself, and I had a growing sense that my life was full of possibilities. So I've been peace breathing ever since. It keeps me in tune with my long-held desire to stand for peace in a way that helps my whole self. What's more, it adds to the promise of peace for the entire world. And who would have known that 16 years after I first stepped into the Peace School, the founder's son and I would become husband and wife, blessed to build a life together, now some 26 years. But that's another story. Thank you.